In the shadows of our everyday lives lurk some of the world's most dangerous organizations, operating with a fierce intensity that most of us can hardly comprehend. The chilling reality is that these gangs are not merely fictional characters from the movies, they're real, and their impact stretches across borders, economies, and lives. You're probably wondering, what makes these gangs more dangerous than the rest? How do they thrive in an environment where laws are meant to protect? Stick around, because we're about to explore the 5 most dangerous gangs on the planet, and what you uncover may just leave you questioning the world we live in. Imagine a network of individuals so powerful and ruthless that even governments struggle to contain them. Gangs that have turned cities into battlegrounds, where violence is a common currency in the quest for dominance. As we delve into this exploration, keep in mind that behind each name, each statistic, lies a story, a life, and a profound impact. From their origins to their operational methods, we will dissect what distinguishes these gangs and expose the dark legacies they leave behind. Starting us off is the Sinaloa Cartel, based in Mexico, a name that reverberates through the corridors of power underlined by fear. Operating since the late 1980s, this cartel is led by the infamous Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, who was once the world's most wanted criminal. But why is this cartel considered the most formidable? With operations that span across not just Mexico but a significant part of the United States and even further, the Sinaloa Cartel controls over 25% of the drug trade in the U.S., trafficking everything from cocaine to methamphetamine. What sets the Sinaloa Cartel apart is their sophisticated infrastructure and strategic alliances. They have been known to employ advanced technology, such as drones, for surveillance and logistics, a far cry from the primitive methods of earlier gangs. You might be wondering, how do they protect their vast empire? Ruthlessly. Violence is instrumental. They're infamous for their brutal methods, often leaving gruesome reminders of defiance. This leads us to ponder a harrowing question: how entrenched are they in society, and what keeps them in power? While their leadership may have shifted after Guzman's imprisonment, the cartel remains largely intact. Their ability to adapt and maintain an iron grip over their territories is telling. The terrifying truth is that they thrive in the chaos of addiction and poverty, rooted deeply in communities where despair reigns. It raises a chilling thought: how many lives are altered irreparably by such organizations? Next, we transition to the international scene. Enter the MS-13, known formally as Mara Salvatrucha, a gang that has spread its violent reach across North America. Originating from El Salvador in the late 1980s, the MS-13 rapidly proliferated as members fled civil unrest and gang warfare in their home country, only to establish new territories in the United States. This gang has a deeply entrenched philosophy that revolves around loyalty and violence, one that is frequently reinforced through horrific acts. So, what distinguishes MS-13 from other gangs? Their environmental context. In areas where they operate, from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., they have developed a hyper-violent reputation marked by gruesome acts often directed at rival gangs and even innocent civilians. The gang is notorious for its sadistic recruitment techniques. Initiation often involves a brutal beating, sometimes lasting up to 13 seconds, a reflection of the gang's number and a symbolism of their ruthless nature. When you hear of such initiation rituals, doesn't it force you to reflect on the youth who feel they have no choice but to embrace this life? Shifting focus, we turn our gaze toward the infamous Crips and Bloods, 2 of the most notorious street gangs in the U.S., with origins tracing back to the 1960s in Los Angeles. Their turf battles have been the subject of much media fascination, but the real stories are rooted in social desperation and the quest for identity in places abandoned by opportunity. Formed primarily to assert control in neighborhoods plagued by systemic inequalities, these gangs have evolved into powerful entities. What's shocking about the Crips and Bloods is that despite their deep-rooted rivalry, at their foundation lies a narrative of community. You might be surprised to learn that many members initially sought protection and a sense of belonging. However, with time, their territorial conflicts have led to escalated violence, resulting in thousands of deaths over the decades. What once resonated with the cries for justice became a cycle of revenge and bloodshed. Their impact isn't limited to just the streets, it permeates culture and even music. They've contributed significantly to the narrative of hip-hop, which often highlights their realities, but it's essential to ask, at what cost? Our list wouldn't be complete without discussing the infamous Yakuza of Japan. To the uninitiated, the Yakuza might appear to uphold codes of chivalry and honor. However, beneath this veneer lies a world of crime and ruthless enforcement. This organization has been involved in various illicit activities from drug trafficking to human trafficking, extending its influence through corrupt business dealings and underground networks. What might astonish you is their organizational structure, which is not entirely dissimilar from a corporate model. With a great emphasis on hierarchy and rituals, the Yakuza operates through a code of silence, or omerta. Their psychological grip on society is formidable. While their activities are criminal, many perceive the Yakuza as a necessary evil that provides social order in the absence of reliable governance in certain areas. This begs the question, does their complex relationship with Japanese society allow them to thrive in ways other gangs cannot? Finally, we conclude our exploration with the infamous 'Ndrangheta from Calabria, Italy. While the name might not resonate with most, they are speculated to be the wealthiest and most secretive criminal organization in the world. Dominating the European cocaine trade and running a vast network of connections, the 'Ndrangheta has surpassed even the notorious Sicilian mafia in terms of power and influence. But what serves as their strength? Silence and secrecy. The 'Ndrangheta operates under a code that prizes loyalty above all. They have historically relied on familial ties, cloaked in a veil of respectability, seamlessly blending in with legitimate businesses. You might be wondering how far-reaching their influence truly is. Imagine major construction projects or agricultural sectors in Italy robbing the populace of growth and profit, while the 'Ndrangheta quietly reaps the rewards of exploitation. As we reflect on the narratives woven through the lives of the Sinaloa cartel, MS-13, the Crips and Bloods, the Yakuza, and the 'Ndrangheta, one common thread emerges. They operate not just through force but through an intricate play of emotions, fears, and socio-economic realities. The tales echo like warnings across cities and nations, reminding us of the intertwining cycles of violence, desperation, and seduction that these gangs perpetuate. In conclusion, the world of dangerous gangs is a hideous reflection of deeper societal failures. Each of these gangs operates within a context that nurtures their existence, often proliferating environments steeped in poverty, fear, and systemic neglect. As we dissect the shocking realities of these organizations, it's essential to approach these subjects not just with curiosity but with a sense of understanding. What have we learned from this exploration? The vulnerabilities of society often give rise to such entities, reflecting our collective fear and desire for control. Stepping away from this analysis, consider, how can we address the roots of such violence? How can we break the chains that bind too many to a life they didn't choose? Because at the end of the day, the stories behind the statistics reveal the complexities of human behavior, the quest for power, identity, and survival. I urge you to reflect on these dangerous organizations, not just as names that evoke fear but as manifestations of unresolved social issues. Together, we can foster a dialogue that promotes understanding, unity, and ultimately creates a world where the seductive grip of such gangs is no longer seen as a viable option for survival. As we conclude this journey, remember that while the shadows may still loom, a proactive stance towards understanding and reform can bring light to the darkest corners of our society.